Hey everyone. For this episode, we do delve into some sensitive topics, including topics in mental health and some struggles that we might have had and our guests might have had in the past or present. And because of that, listener discretion is advised. So yeah, enjoy the episode.
And then afterwards, someone showed me a picture. You showed me a fucking picture, and it was like, that guy in the blue jacket is Robert Zemeckis. I was like, that was the fucking guy I was screaming at for all of the... But apparently he liked my film, according to sources that are Alex. It's hard, and it takes its toll. So throughout the year, I just started to feel like I was just drooping. And at the very end, the speech was the explosion. And so I exploded out on stage. I was cursing everybody out, and some like random influencer guy approached us from out of the blue and was like, oh, look at this diverse group of people. Like, this will be good for a TikTok. I was like floored. I was like, what the did you just... I would have preferred to live my life to the fullest and die within a year of my life than to like go through this bullshit of like, oh, let me do school and oh, I have to read this book and pretend I give a shit and everything, and it's like just to forget it afterwards.
Welcome everyone to episode 5 of the First Act Break podcast, where we break down the art, business, and hustle of breaking into the film industry today. Today we have a special guest with us today, Ethan Go.
He is a USC film director, editor, and just creative person in general who has rich stories, and we're excited to hear them.
Thank you, cool. I don't know what y'all want. Alright, here I am.
Alright.
After much discussion, with the banner looking fantastic, everybody back home, check out First Act Break. Of course, got to. But yeah, sorry.
No, dude.
No, take going.
Whatever you want to say.
Whatever I want to say?
This is a judgment-free zone,
yeah.
You know?
Nerves are shot. I'm still recovering from 310. Oh, I can talk about that. I can talk about recovering from 310, bro. I'm only like 50%
We were
recovered.
just on that a minute ago.
Yeah? Some bullshit.
So, on the other side of the 310's experience, how was it, for you? And for the viewers who don't know, 310 is a junior thesis film class where you make 3 films in a semester with, 2 other people. And you did it the same time I did it, and the same time as our previous guest. And the previous guest over that, Bien and Octavian, did it. So,
I love Bien and Octavian. They're awesome people.
So, yeah, I would love to hear your experience on that.
My experience, honestly, on 310, bring back a lot of stuff. Well, just as I'm sure Bien and Octavian have talked about, it's just like an insanely heavy workload with really tight turnaround dates for deadlines and deliverables that we're supposed to have on our film and stuff like that. So it was just, the intention of the class is that it's supposed to be a really stressful class, and they accomplished that. I will say that has been accomplished, and you get kind of broken up into groups of 3, which are called trios, and then you proceed to, throughout the span of the 15 weeks that makes up that one semester, just make 3 different films across that period of time, with each of the trio members like directing their own films, and then we swap positions between each one of them. But in terms of my experience, it was an okay team. We got stuff done. That was pretty much our motto too, was that we did it. It is done, and not really like from a place of let's celebrate because we were a team and we locked this. It was like, it's done. All right, I don't have to see you for another project. So there was that. A little bit of personal issues off to the side as well, but that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Was there anything positive that you'd like to share? That what's something that you took away from this experience that you can take from the next project and make it better because of 310?
I will say 310 like kind of performed like a pressure chamber, in the sense that I went in one end completely unsure about my abilities to do like a lot of the producing things. Cinematography I'm still not the strongest at. I shot a documentary. But yeah, it's like coming out the other end, it's like all of the necessary steps, that the untold story behind film, of like, calling up all these locations and whatnot, and like managing all the logistics to get something made. Like, that's something that I feel much more confident about now, having done the class. And also I think it's it was valuable in the sense that it allowed me to kind of reevaluate like the importance of like the work-life culture and whatnot. It's like, because of course it's an intense industry and we have like our fair share of controversies and whatnot, but it's like, you know, it's like being able to know when I need to like spare time for myself to like recuperate, or like when not to like burn myself out. But yeah, I grew from the class a lot and just learned to value myself more. So I'm in my bathrobe, I'm chilling.
Yeah, you're going to a nude spa after this.
I'm going to a nude spa after this with hopefully 3 people, not 2. Otherwise, it'll seem like a date.
I remember taking you. We went together to Newport Beach Festival, film festival, and talk about that experience and having was it your film that helped you got into USC?
Yeah, so
that you made with
basically,
your brother.
That's still like a really cool memory of mine too. I think about that every now and then. But yeah, the Newport Beach thing. It was so like what happened essentially was, because to apply to film school you have to make like an application film. Every school has their own like specifications on like how long it should be or what it should be about. But USC's is you need to make 5 minutes of something. And so I did that, and I was quite proud of that film coming out of my senior year of high school. And after my freshman year, I kind of just submitted it everywhere. Like I don't know how to submit my films to film festivals properly, so I kind of just like was on my Film Freeway account, and they have all the discounted like options and shit like that. And so to avoid paying any real money, I was like, oh, 90% off. And then I paid like $5 for every film festival. And then I ended up like, it was like a sweep, because they were all like film festivals nobody's heard of that require a 90% discount. So yeah, it did very well. And among one of those festivals is the Newport Beach Festival. And yeah, at first it was like, well, I was going through a breakup at that point too. My first ever girlfriend. Hope you're doing okay. I don't think there's no way she's gonna be watching this, but
You never know.
yeah, that is true.
Yeah, what if
You
she
never
wants to go
know.
to film school?
You never know.
It's okay. Hope you got an animation now.
Oh,
I have yeah, that's a whole other thing. But sorry, where was I?
you said you just broke up.
Oh, we just broke up, so I wasn't feeling it. And that was when we were living at Annenberg House, right? And I remember just being like, they kept on sending me emails like, oh, Ethan, if you want to participate in the Newport Beach events, you have to sign up now or we're going to run out of space. And I was like, nah. It's like, and the event being like, it was a filmmakers meet on a yacht. And I was like, my ass was like, oh, I'm too tired to go to that. And so I didn't for the longest time, but I think, I don't know, as I was kind of weaning off of the breakup, I got another email from them again, right? And it's like, they were like, oh, we're going to be screening your film at Regal. And I was like, I know what Regal is. That's cool. And so I reached out on my story asking if anybody has a car that can drive me to Newport, and then you responded. That was like one of the first times we really hung out too.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was what, 2 years ago now, almost.
1 year ago.
1 year ago.
1.5.
Wow. 1.5. I don't even remember, man.
When I was
It's been a minute.
I was in 290,
Sophomore.
I think it's
It's fall.
sophomore fall.
year, over a year ago.
Over a year ago at this
I
point.
think it was fall,
Wow.
so it was over a year ago.
Yeah, but that was crazy. I really did appreciate you like.
Yeah. I was also going
through.
through something, so I think
Oh,
we
that's right.
connected over that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, that was a cool experience. Yeah.
It was, yeah, and then like so we went. My movie was on the screen, and I got to meet a lot of the freshman film production people.
Oh,
like,
wow.
Daisy, I met her there. I don't know if you remember.
Daisy was there.
Daisy was there. She
Daisy
was
Liao?
one of the winners. Yeah, that was
Oh,
standing
wow.
up front.
What? I don't even remember that. She was there.
Yeah, she was there. I forget what
I don't
her
remember
film
that.
was. Her
What?
film was her film was about like making art or something, like that documentary about
Oh,
herself.
that was her.
That was her. Daisy.
What?
You don't
I
remember
even
me,
remember
but
that. I thought.
what up?
I thought the first time I met her was on another film that I produced.
Really?
Yeah. That's crazy. That's such a small world.
Yeah. It was,
Wow.
but it's like with the OC connections and whatnot. It's like
That's
I feel like a
true.
lot
I
of
mean,
people-
OC has, we talked about this earlier in
Yeah,
another
yeah.
episode, but yeah, that's
Yeah, it was-
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you mean, was that the first time you saw your film on the big screen?
That was pretty cool. I didn't know how to feel. I think to this day I still don't know how to feel, just because I don't feel that I'm as practiced as I should be. Like, I have all this time and I'm a junior now, and like I've made like 3 official films over the course of my time here. And it's like it's still sinking in, and they feel very amateur-ish. And I was talking about it on stage, so I went up, and they handed me the microphone, and I was like, "Yo, I might drop out of film school." And so I said that on stage with like all of the Newport Beach attendees and whatnot. So that was kind of where I was standing with film then, and now it's like it's been a journey, and I've kind of been navigating it. And there has been a lot of growth. I think definitely if you ask anybody that I know, everybody can say that I've grown quite a bit since like my freshman year. So, and I would like to say so too. I'd like to acknowledge that I've grown myself, even though I have a tendency to doubt myself a lot, but not in this case. Not in this case.
Dude, I mean, you really have. I feel like personally and professionally, I think your films consistently get better. You know, your latest film, Asian Invasion, one of the biggest fans in the audience was Robert Zemeckis himself. So tell me about your experience making that movie.
I don't even know if that... Okay, so just some background, because I'm assuming the viewers have not heard of this story. But we have our 310, we have our screenings, and Robert Zemeckis came to my screening for P3 at the end of the year. And there was this... I think throughout the entire ordeal, I was sitting behind this one, like, old guy, and I was like... And then I kept on cheering for all my friends, but he would never turn his head. And then afterwards, someone showed me a picture. You showed me a fucking picture, and it was like, that guy in the blue jacket is Robert Zemeckis. I was like, that was the fucking guy I was screaming at for all of the... Because, like, literally everybody in the front row was, like, kind of laughing or kind of, like, looked back a little bit, like, smiling when I was yelling from the theater audience, except for him. But apparently he liked my film, according to sources that are... Alex that was in Trio with Robert Zemeckis' kid. He also like gave it a nod, according to Alex.
A nod.
Yeah.
That's very important, like body language. I feel like if you analyze it.
No, it is. It's like it's a really big thing too. In the sense that you know, like Robert Zemeckis is someone who I've looked up to for all these years and whatnot, right? And it's like
what's your favorite Robert Zemeckis film?
Forrest Gump.
But
I agree.
Yeah. But Robert Zemeckis, yeah, I grew up with his films, right? So it's like that still hasn't fully sunk in that he saw my film, and because I'm hearing this like it's hearsay,
huge,
you know?
Yeah.
And it's like he nodded at my film. He's like kind of the reason why I got into film in the first place. Like people like him, and it's like it's kind of like a full circle moment that hasn't fully sunk in yet. Or maybe I don't know, maybe it's like chill because I didn't see it, so he might not have done it too, so I don't know.
I mean, after the screening of your film, you gave a speech, and I would love to hear about your the iconic 310 speech you made.
The iconic 310 speech that I made, I was like cooking and thinking about what to say in my speech since like you were thinking about preparing something.
Mm-hmm.
And so there were multiple iterations of it throughout the semester, I think, as I experienced personal issues. The speech was altered as the year went on too, and so it was a whole thing. And you know, as you progress through 310 too, it's like it's an experience within itself. It is like Hollywood boot camp. They call it Hollywood boot camp, and it really is that, just because it's like you get put in like this in the pressure chamber of like a professional Hollywood standards and whatnot, and you're expected to just kind of like churn these films one after the other, churn them out one after the other, and it's hard and it takes its toll. So throughout the year, I just started to feel like I was just drooping. And at the very end, the speech was the explosion of that, like, it was the climax of me being edged with depression. Yeah. And so I exploded out on stage. I was cursing everybody out. I was like, I do whatever the fuck I want. I earned my time on this stage, which I did. And I believe that I made a really strong 310, and I should be proud of that, but that still is yet to sink in.
I mean, I would like to hear, because that really relates to your thoughts on the USC Film School. Talk a little bit about that, you know. Was it what you expected? What are some things, you know, that you would change about it? And just your honest opinion on the film school and people, curriculum, etc.
Honestly, I'm not really sure. At some point, I met with one of the counselors who were also kind of asking me too, because I was like in my journals, because 310 requires us to write journals every week. I would be people would think that my journals were quite dramatic. You guys, I've been complaining about the SEA system to you guys the whole time since I was a freshman, bruh.
What are 3 things that you don't like and 3 things you love about SEA?
I think it's probably just quicker if I go through the likes, and everything else is just I can kind of go on a rant. But 3 things I love about SEA is definitely the community. I think there's a fantastic just a conglomerate of like really interesting minds that have all come together to like really learn how to express themselves in ways that they never have, and like kind of they're chasing the dream, you know. It's like La La Land. So it's really cool. And I think for the first time in my life, honestly, since coming to college, this is probably the most like camaraderie that I felt with my peers, just because in high school I was like really shut down and whatnot. And I didn't feel that my friends were all that close. It was really hard for me to socialize back then. But yeah, now, so that's one thing though, the cohort, the people, it's not even the cohort, but just everybody in film in general, like the professors, for the most part, are very cool. But let's see, what's something, the second thing is the resources that we have. I think also it's like, we have all these screenings and whatnot, and we have resources. We could have more resources, but I mean, I'm not here to complain. I am paying for it though, for 80K's worth of tuition every year. But it's like, yeah, we get a lot of cool resources like certain shooting stages, professional looking shooting stages. We can rent out lights and whatnot, and we have like a wealth of like software and like logins and whatnot that would normally cost money. Like all of that, like for film, like, you know, film faculties that would typically cost money beforehand. So like resources, the people, and the third one would be, I don't know, just the fact that it's college, you know. I think with it being film school, it's like a lot of people have this like preconceived notion that, oh, they have to remain in the bounds of SCA and whatnot, right? And like you're only supposed to dedicate your time to that. But like college serves, I mean, it is like a specialized Bachelor of Fine Arts degree, but it's like the experience of college within itself is supposed to like help you mature into the adult that you want to be from childhood, right? Because we have our high school versions of ourselves, which I can proudly now say that I'm so different from. And it's just like all of the time that we have here, and just the resources and people outside of film. Like I was acting and stuff. I joined a 3D printing club. I joined a frat. I joined the Filipino club. I acted in multiple short films and went to multiple screenings, and I'm barely scratching the surface of what USC has to offer. But even then, that in itself, because it can become a whole competition too, right? Where like, I think I very much inhabit the mentality that like, oh, if this something is available to you and you don't access it, then you're fucking stupid, which is something that I'm working on. But it's like, you know, like there are things like musicals and stuff like that. And I was supposed to go to a musical audition yesterday, but that ended up falling through just because I was feeling like just kind of fucked up. And so that's kind of knowing where my like limits are and stuff. But yeah, no, just the school has been awesome. I've many parties.
I mean, what do you think was your biggest inspiration, you know, getting into film? Because we also have that one thing that sparks us creatively, right? Like, what was that for you? It's
interesting just because my background in film is like very complex. I mean, as is all the filmmakers of this age. I feel like we don't only have movies to work off of, but film can be like considered in so many different mediums, and it can take so many different forms. And I think I grew up with a lot of like YouTube like skits and like different genres of stuff. And I'm trying to remember that because I watched a lot of YouTube as a kid, so I'm trying to pinpoint the exact person that like would have inspired me. My first like, I think channel obsession that made me want to make my own videos was Dan TDM, bro. The Diamond Minecart. I don't know if y'all know that Minecraft YouTuber.
Yeah, I've heard him.
Yeah. But it's like he would just be playing in his Minecraft world and stuff like that, and he would have like a villager friend and whatnot called Dr. Trioris. And then he would have he had a little skeletal dog from like a mod that he downloaded from Minecraft that he called Grim. And so they would go on like different adventures, exploring different mods and whatnot. And he'd set up like elaborate stories. So it wasn't just like, this is what the mod is. And it's like he plays out these whole stories, but it was the first time where like I kind of fully realized to myself that I can also make something like this. You know, it wasn't maybe something as grand as like, you know, a feature length movie or a short film, but it's like this form of entertainment that I enjoyed so much through Dan TDM. Like I could hop on Minecraft, I could like make a base and then like fabricate all these storylines and whatnot to the enjoyment of all these people, and that was a very cool feeling to me that I could do that. And so that was kind of my foray into film.
That's
and then
wonderful.
I started the YouTube channel, and then a lot of shitty Minecraft videos that no longer exist. I can't find them. But after that, I built on it, and then just it became skits, and then submissions for high school film class homework, and then eventually, you know, just where we are today.
That's awesome. And one of your favorite aspects of filmmaking is editing, right?
Yeah.
Or at least that's one of your strongest fields. Talk.
I have this motherfucker edit all the time.
Yeah, he does.
I do. But he's a fantastic editor. You're a good editor
Thank
too.
you.
Yeah. I think we have different eyes. But yeah, sorry.
One of the biggest highlights of Asian Invasion was the editing, the pacing, and also on honestly all your films.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me about, you know, what really got you into really liking editing, you know, versus, you know, cinematography or producing. Like, why editing?
I mean, that's a curious. I don't know if it's like a matter of alternative. Like, because I got into editing, I didn't get into cinematography.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why do you think you got into cinematography?
I like shooting stuff.
You just like shooting stuff, and
Shooting
so
everything.
yeah, I think for me, I liked rearranging everything in a way that like makes sense, and like because anybody can shoot. I think I grew up and my dad like had a camera, and like every other shit that we took, he would take a picture of, and we have like entire fucking hard drives of like when I was a kid and stuff like that. So that's, I mean, it's good. I can look through it, but then it's like the fucking Library of Alexandria of my tiny baby dick, you know. It's like I don't want to have to flip all the way through that. But yeah, it was like the YouTube I really liked, and it was like, wow, they pace it. It's not just one continuous stream of motion.
Yeah.
And it's like I also wanted to do that. That was really cool. That like made or break the film. Especially when I started editing too. It was like I recorded the sequence for my first Minecraft video in which like I have my brother like get possessed by some evil sword or something, and he proceeds to like beat me to death over and over again. But yeah, it was like I had the footage, but it was just raw like footage of Minecraft gameplay, and I was like, this fucking sucks, bro. And so I went through, and then like I started editing it a little bit, and it gave me more clarity to like, oh, the story was starting to come out. I know how I want to pace this a little bit, because I was like a big movie kid growing up too, so it was like these things were kind of like they feel very intuitive just because they're kind of like my background. And yeah, as from then on, it was like, wow, I feel like I can edit better than normal people. And I was like, you know what? Let me kind of try this shit out.
Mm-hmm.
And like, so for like school assignments, like big projects, you know, where people have to do, it's like, oh, you can do a big diorama or you can do a film. I do the film just because it's like, it was another opportunity for me to practice film. And I like kind of didn't even decide to do film until my junior year in high school, in which like because just Asian parents.
Yeah.
Womp womp.
How did you convince your parents to let you do film in college?
Well, what happened was I was getting a lot of backlash initially. It was like I didn't know what else I wanted to do. It was like I felt like I was really dumb to really accomplish anything. Like, what, was I gonna be a scientist or something, or like an engineer? Like I fucking hate physics and math, and I always got graded so poorly on them. And it took like almost, I later learned that I had ADHD, and that's why I was struggling so long on the assignments. But I was always made to feel that, you know, that I was just inadequate, and that I wasn't doing enough. But yeah, I think when the film thing came around, it was honestly because high school, there was this really cool teacher, Brett Barris, the man. I'm gonna send him this shit. I'm gonna send him the podcast. Yeah. And maybe to all the TAS students there listening, because Barris may or may not show this to you guys. I believe in you. Y'all got it. But anyways, yeah. So anyway, sorry, my brain is all over the place. But yeah, it's with entering high school, I encountered this one like art teacher that specialized in film. And so he was the one that kind of guided me through my film journey and made me decide like, hold on, this is kind of fun. Like I want to be able to do this professionally. And so, I started with freshman year, and it was just like some intro to film class to knock out my high school GE requirements, because we also had those in high school too. And so I did that, and then it was like, whoa, this is kind of fun, and I kept on getting a lot of compliments, which was not very common in my line of existence. And and it just kind of kept growing from there, and every time an opportunity like showed itself, I took upon it. And I kept on building to my portfolio, and I felt really confident about telling the movies that I thought would be really cool, if I were to have seen it, you know? Mm-hmm. And it's like I was able to make that, and that made me very proud. Although my cinematography is kind of dog shit. Well, it's not dog shit, but it's just very substandard, and it doesn't look perfect. You can tell that it's a short film, a student short film.
That's okay. I mean, we are still in film school trying to get better and everything. And this isn't your first interaction with the podcast. You have a boss named Brandon who you edit for. And tell me a little bit about that. How did you end up with that job?
That was crazy. I remember in freshman, just because I had this mentality of because I was so depressed throughout my entire high school. Because in order to focus on getting good grades and stuff like that, it required that I fuck myself and if you gotta pull all-nighter now to finish studying for this test, then do it anyways. Who cares? Nothing is gonna stop and wait for you to boo-hoo Ethan kind of a thing. But sorry, I forgot what the question was.
Yeah, how did you meet Brandon and get into that whole job?
Yeah, but so I graduated high school with a lot of regrets. Right, and it was I wish I did that. I wish I was in more clubs. I wish I was talking to more people. And so coming to USC, it was an automatic recognition of the fact that I had to get myself out there and experience as much. I'm nowhere in hell. I'm gonna go through these 4 years, another 4 years, and then look back on it and be like, shit, I just wasted another 4 years. That's some bullshit. So I remember I was going crazy my freshman year, just doing a whole bunch of stuff. That was when I acted the most. Mm-hmm. That was when I joined the 3D printing club. So honestly, most of the extracurricular stuff, besides the frat stuff, I did in my freshman year. So I was acting, I was joining communities. I went to a couple APCA things, but and so eventually, one of the opportunities that also came my way was me and my good friends Evan, Temmie, and Sally. And so that was kind of the first major friend group that I made in my first year of college too. And so we were all just hanging out towards the end of the year, and some fucking random influencer guy approached us from out of the blue and was like, "Oh, look at this diverse group of people. This will be good for a TikTok." I was floored. I was like, "What the fuck did you just what are you telling?" But anyways, it consisted of this lady who called herself the college expert that would go on campuses and ask people about their college experience. And so she asked us. I think the thing about film schools too is in terms of the progression of the learning curve. If you're taking a 4-year traditional college route, it's the first 2 years you're just kind of dicking around. You are a film major, but you aren't participating in many classes where it's all that production intensive. I think now we've gotten to the point where I'm satisfied with the amount of a film education I'm getting now. But first 2 years weren't really doing anything. So I was complaining about that to him. He was like, "You know what? If USC is not training you, then I will, and you can be my intern." I was like, for sure, because I don't miss out on an opportunity, because I don't want to look back on this and be like, I regret it. And so we got to know each other. I called him at the end of the year. I told him that I was going to be in Taiwan temporarily because Taiwan is where I'm from, but I would return to the States during the second half of my freshman summer break. Mm. So July. So I called him and we were like, it's I'm thinking about shooting a couple. I think about doing this thing. He's a model photographer too. He's kind of a jack of all trades, mm-hmm. where he just kind of does social media managing. And I think his main source of income comes from taking model digitals of people. And so that's just basically where you're taking professional model looking photos of people. Mm. And so that's where he gets his money. But I think he tried to branch out, and he wanted to teach an online class where that teaches people how to become models and become influencers in today's modern day and age. And so I was there, and I like was the cameraman, and I did all the DP efforts for that. So like it was like a docu-series kind of a thing where like he would be explaining like, oh, this is how you want to pose, and before I take pictures of a model, I make sure to like I have them fake laugh, you know, so that get the nervousness out and stuff like that. He has all these tips and tricks and whatnot. But yeah, so from then, he proceeded to give me a makeover because he thought I was ugly as balls. And, which he did for free, which was very nice. So, for the price of being called, like, ugly as shit, I think that was pretty good. That was a pretty good, return on investment there. And he gave me a Ronin, a self-balancing, gimbal thing, yeah. And so I've been working for him a little bit ever since.
But you know, you had another job at the time, which was at the law school, right?
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that experience. How did you get the law school job? You were the OG friend in the friend group who worked at the law school. After you, everyone worked at the law school.
Pretty much. We're all getting kind of like taken out one by one and getting fired here. But otherwise, no.
Due to budget issues, not personal issues.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. So for the Gould School of Law, I worked on communications team for USC's law school. And so how I actually came about that was, and I was actually really proud of myself for like finding a job in my freshman year, because I'm like, that's kind of unheard of, at least for my standards.
No, it is
too.
great.
Yeah, and it was like I went to an APCA meeting was what happened, and the lead of APCA at the time was Matt Olflis, who also worked in Gould Communication. They were looking for new people. And so through that connection, I got the job, and I got recommended, and then I went in for my interview. I met all these amazing people, and it was kind of a journey. Like I would just take photos and make little social media posts for them and stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you miss that job ever?
I miss certain aspects about the job, because a lot of the times it did feel like it wasn't creatively engaging enough. Like they were just telling us to do certain things, and when it came to things like editing, like taking photos, that I had so much fun, just because getting to know like this whole other like community of the USC lawyers and whatnot. And I was there actually kind of photographing like the like some master's grad school level cohort of lawyers. They're like, because I was here for the summer too. Like kind of the whatchamacallit, the orientation, you know, when they show the new college students. Mm-hmm. I was there taking photos for them for that while they were doing all these like icebreaker activities and stuff. And I doubt any of them knows me anymore, but like I was pretty chill with like a lot of them. And so that was really cool, just to like, kind of get to know new people through these connections and experiences. A lot of times they want me to photograph dinners at the Town and Gown Hall, which at USC is like this very like luxurious looking Ivy League hall. But yeah, and they would, whenever I would go to take photos for them, they would give me free food to eat. And so that was pretty cool. And also editing the videos for their social media was really cool. But like besides that, it felt like I was just being kept on just for the sake of being kept on. You know, it's like a lot of this like boring work, like the intern work, which I guess I technically was. But yeah, I think I'm at a point in my life where I want to kind of explore different things. Also, it's hot as fuck in here. I take this off. And my Godzilla shirt.
Transformation.
Very
No,
awful.
you're good. You're good. I remember freshman year, there was, you know, you mentioned law school and all that, but I remember there was a period of time where you were pretty unsure about whether to stay or not. You said in high school, you know, you wanted to take film seriously as a career. What happened there that made you doubt it, and what made you ultimately choose to stay?
I think I had a lot of talks with my therapist about something like this too, where it just felt like being at college was like an extension of my high school experience, where all you did was like the GEs and like filling your brain full of, because at this point it's hard for me to retain all this information, and like I would just go up to these GE classes and like take notes and then like just study the night before the exam and then regurgitate it and then forget it after. I can't tell you anything about what I learned in my freshman year besides the fact that I read like The Parable of the Sower. I don't even know what happens. I just remember it's called Parable of the Sower, and I just got reminded of it because I was watching an Abbott Elementary episode and they're like reading the same book too. So yeah, but so yeah, it was like I always thought that it was like that, and eventually I was like kind of on the borderline of dropping. I'm like, wow, this is what I'm dedicating all my time to. Wouldn't I much rather quite literally do anything else, just because I'm an adult now, and as much as my parents want to control like what's what my future plans and my current agenda is, like, I'm gonna be an adult, you're gonna send me away, like, unless you're gonna keep me as a Jiayang or some like that in the house forever. It's like I get to make my own decisions. I would have preferred to live my life to the fullest and die within a year of my life than to like go through this bullshit of like, oh, let me do school, and oh, I have to read this book and pretend I give a shit and everything, and it's like just to forget it afterwards. It felt stupid, and my entire childhood and like my coming of age felt like I was just doing things because other people told me to, and not because I was doing the things I wanted to. And film was supposed to be one of the things that I was pursuing out of like my own passion. And so when I came here and I realized that, oh, actually they were like, F you, this is we join CTCS 190 intro to film cinema intro to cinema,
yeah.
and they're gonna tell us what cinematography means. I'm like, oh, hell nah. But yeah, I think after a certain amount of time, I think definitely I've experienced a lot of emotional growth. My therapist can attest to that. And also just the curriculum has kind of like taken on more film production elements, and so now it's more fulfilling. And it's like at the end of the day, I just needed an undergraduate degree, and USC has hella connections in the industry and whatnot, and it's like might as well just stick it through. Like, well, I'm gonna transfer to NYU now and like meet a whole bunch of new people, because by then I had met you guys already, and I was like,
yeah, I was really nervous that you were gonna just leave us, you know, because you were gonna be my roommate next year.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait, but I want to drop out, and I was like, but no. You don't. Tell me about what made you change your mind, like because you had that one. Did you go to a bar with our professor, or did you go to?
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So at the end of my freshman year, we took the 285 class, right, which is lateral thinking and filmmaking or something like that. And so they had, I don't remember this class was called, but it's like they had a whole bunch of guest lecturers that year, including Ben Hansford, which is he's the current active 285 lead, but I think that was his first year. He was, yeah, that was really cool. It was an interesting class because it was the first form of a production class that we were told to take that was required in the curriculum. But then it was like, oh, film off your iPhones. We were like, what? I pay $80K to like film off my iPhone? Are you serious? And so like I was like, this is such a fucking joke, you know. I was like, why am I wasting time here? I already know what wasted time feels like from high school. It's like I'm not like anticipating a return to that. But yeah, it was like that happened, and the class was kind of bullshit. I acted in a lot of people's short films. It's kind of like it's really cool. Jiayang, you have a collection of all of them too. Mm-hmm. You can do like a supercut or something for the show at some point. That would be interesting. But yeah, I like participated in a lot of like acting in these short like iPhone movie roles and stuff like that. And then at the end of the class, I was like feeling disgruntled and like, wow, that's my first year of USC, and I shot something on my iPhone. I was like, God damn. So what ended up happening was I reached out to one of the other lecturers, Mitch McLaughlin, actually cool ass motherfucker. I haven't seen since.
Love that guy.
Yeah, fantastic guy.
Amazing.
Amazing work too. And yeah, I just wanted to see what his approach was on. I'm just gonna like throw him a couple ideas and whatnot and be like, yeah, I think I might drop out because it feels like bullshit. And I told him that, oh, actually, the tuition is $80K, and they're like, we did not know that. So they don't even know. Genuinely, it's like, but yeah, I asked him, and I forgot what he said exactly, but I just remember that being a very cool interaction, just because, and no dirt on Mitch, but he seemed like kind of like a moody, like a quieter individual, and just like, because I really related with that at my freshman year, and I think a part of me still does. It's like, you know, how am I going to navigate an industry that's about connection and whatnot if like I'm afraid to put myself out there, and it's like, I think he was talking to me about it, and he kind of put me on an equilibrium where it's like, actually maybe wait one more year before you drop out and just see where things go. And so I waited one more year, and then I ended up talking to the guy that accepted me into USC, just because in film production, we submit our application films, and if they like it enough, then one of the school SCA representatives will will contact you individually and do a Zoom call and like do an interview, carry out an interview and decide whether or not you're a good fit for the school. So mine was James O'Keefe, I think is his name, James O'Keefe. He's I gotta check up on him, see how he's doing, but he's a really cool like Southern gentleman. I asked him, I told him too that, hey, you were the one that let me in. Like, did you see something in particular that like motivated, that incentivized you to put me in this school? And so it was like, honestly, it was, yeah, I can think back to it now, and honestly, none of these professors gave me the answer. I think at the end of the day, I decided myself, of course, as it always is. But yeah, the talk with the professor was nice, and it was like, he was like, oh yeah, film is such a cool thing. And it was like, if this is what you want to spend the rest of your life doing, which were all things that I was already considering. Mm-hmm. But yeah, what was the point where I decided to stay? Well, it was, I think it was also just like a matter of, I was too lazy to like, did I really want to like run away from everything and like live off the grid? I was like finishing my, my first semester of my sophomore year. And yeah, it was just that. And also at the start of the next year, yeah, I just decided to stay just because it was too much trouble, honestly, yeah.
Hey, I'm really glad you did, because we would be
here.
missing out a lot of fun memories without you. You know, and you do talk about your application. What do you think made you get into USC Film School?
It sounds cocky to say, but I think to a certain extent, everybody that got into film production was good at what they do, like a certain element of what they do, right? I thought that my editing was very strong. And also, like, if I'm entering a film school and whatnot, I was putting a lot of thought into, like, what are some of the approaches I want to take with entering the school. It's like, this is, film is a visual medium, right? And I know that Chapman had their prompt, and it was, like, Chapman being the, like, one of the other film schools that's supposed to be pretty good, but not really. But yeah, it's like their prompt included like a 2 to 3 minute short film about making a decision, and there couldn't include any audio, no dialogue.
Yeah. And
I was like, that might, because it's like it's a film school, the emphasis would be on the visuals and kind of the pictures you're creating. So I was like, what is the trippiest possible combination of things I can like assemble together in a film? And so it was like, I remember just experiencing a very poor night's sleep, which is very common for me just because I have really heavy insomnia. I was like, God, I can't sleep, but what if I was awake right now? What if I, no, what was it again? I can't sleep. But it's like, oh, actually, what if me thinking that I wasn't asleep was part of my dream? You know? And it was like, oh, some like stupid ass Inception shit. Like gave me a whole bunch of like wiggle room to be like, ooh, okay. And so there's a clock demon because he represents time, and this is a piece about my depression and whatnot, and how schoolwork fucking tears me down, and time is always catching up, and like the black sludge, and just a whole bunch of like, honestly, if you look back at Parasomniac, it's just like a collection of like film stereotypes, which is,
well, it's like subverting them, right?
It's
in a way.
A little bit. Like the black sludge, I feel like has been done a million times before. The clock face monster man, it just doesn't seem very original. I feel like it's come from somewhere that
I haven't seen something like that.
You haven't seen that? But yeah, it's just basically how I approach film is just like I approach it, and it's kind of like, people say don't steal an art, but like at the end of the day, that's impossible and not true. Just because to a certain extent, art is like art is a product of your environment and what you grew up with surrounding you too, right? So it's like I grew up watching the movies and genres that I really liked, and honestly, I can't say that that's completely divorced from my film style. Like it's very heavily involved in that. I remember doing like an 80-page Google Doc of references to other movies to convince my teacher that like, oh yeah, I can do this one shot because it's just, I comp it out and whatnot. It's like masking in Premiere Pro. It's like, yeah, all the itty bitty stuff. And so I was like, yeah, that's cool. Let me just include as many fucking metaphors in here as I can. It was a story that meant something to me, of course. But I think the priority there was that, yeah, it was like, ooh, what are some cool shots that I can include? And so we open on the mugs, like all kind of collecting on the table and whatnot.
All right, so I know you're into like graphic novels or even comic books. So I know that's a large part of your creative input. So talk a little bit about how that influences your filmmaking, because I see a lot of that in Asian Invasion and also your USC film.
It's interesting because a lot of people like make the comparison with my work to like, oh, this is very comic book style-y, which like I don't include in any of the I don't in any way indicate that it's supposed to be comic books. But it wasn't until that I started working with Peter that one summer on Chambered, which or may not come out. But yeah, I was doing that, and he was telling me that a lot of his composition and frames and cinematic frames that he like kind of dreams up is very comic book inspired. And I was kind of thinking back to my own beginnings. So like before YouTube videos, I remember being really into the Captain America, the Captain Underpants series, where it was about those kids with ADHD that like loved making random stupid comic books all the time. And so I actually started making graphic novels before I started making films. It's like I wish that I could bring some with me, but I think that it's probably best if I just keep them in Taiwan. But it's like I literally just take, in my spare time at school, I just take like a couple pieces of paper, fold them in half, staple it together, and then just kind of like just improvise an entire fucking graphic novel. Like I'm like, oh, it feels like I want this panel to look like that, and then the next one, ooh, let me do a circle, and then it's like that. And then these comic books, honestly, it's been too long since I've read one of them, but they were received very well by my classmates and stuff like that. They're like, it was funny too because it was like that's what the kids in the Captain Underpants series did also, and so I was like, oh, I kind of want to be like that. And so I think that, but honestly, moving forward from that, not too much comic book stylization. I think I didn't return to the comic book look until when I watched my first anime in freshman year of high school. It was My Hero Academia, which is fucking fantastic in spite of all the stigma surrounding the fandom now. It's fucking dope as shit. And I remember how they framed the shots. It was like nothing I've ever seen before. And that was kind of mirrored along with my interest in rise to film. And so I think maybe that also affected it. But yeah, just comic books. I would read comic books every now and then, but not very often. So it's surprising that the comic book thing is like a part of my art style and everything.
And I think it makes your work so unique. You know, it's so beautiful.
Thank you.
And speaking on that, you know, I think you're very creative of a person, right? But I do want to hear your opinions on what does creativity mean to you? How do you approach creativity? And what are some advice for people, you know, that to get more creative, you know?
Creativity is a thing that I've been thinking about for a while now too, just because like I'm in film school and I'm still like in this a little bit of a rut. I've demonstrated a lot of growth since graduating from high school, but it's like there's still days like today where I spent all of the sunlight in my room, and it was like, wow, that makes me feel kind of shitty. But yeah, so it's something that I've been struggling with. But the idea of creativity, I feel like everybody has a different definition for what that means. Just that's what makes the creative so special. Because I always considered myself creative. I was always called creative. So it's even weird now, like as I call myself creative, like I've made films and I've demonstrated capacity to be creative. But it's like it doesn't feel like I own that word. You know, like I'm only creative because all of these other people said so. My high school film teacher, Mr. Barris, said, wow, this is a great cut, Ethan. My friend saying, well, this is a very cool YouTube video. And people applauding at the 310 screening. It's like, those are all indicators that I'm creative, but it's like hasn't fully sunk in yet, or I'm not unleashing it to the potential that I want to. But being creative is just honestly just like making the world how you want to make it, you know? It's in a way that's easy for me to understand because that's how I've come to understand. I feel like creativity is a force that like flows through everybody, but it manifests differently depending on who you are. And I think in my particular case, it's because I grew up and I love like DIY making shit, you know, like showing that I can make things myself, whether that be like posters or like Halloween costumes. I have some sick ass Halloween costumes I made as a kid that I'm quite proud of. And it's like, I think just that element of like wanting to create and make the world in my image, and everybody has a different idea of what that looks like. Like if I handed you the script for Asian Invasion and for you to direct it the way that you wanted it to, it would be an entirely different movie. And so it's like creativity is just at a certain point is about acceptance maybe, and like how comfortable you are with yourself and your ideas and whatnot. I think I have some. I don't think there ever is a bad idea. People say that, and generally it's like, well, I can get into a whole other thing like what is good and bad. But no, just honestly, it's like we're all a reflection of our environment, where we came from, and so honestly, this idea of creativity flowing through all of us and us channeling it through ourselves only applies. I'm getting this from fucking Rick Rubin's The Creative Act too, by the way. Where it's like, yeah, that was something that really resonated with me, where it's like creativity is a force in the world, and we are like the filters in which through which it manifests. Because it's like we all live in the same context, right? We all live as human beings in America, going to USC, you know, and it's like all these things with the zeitgeist of what's happening right now too, of like, you know, just like newsworthy items. And like we all experience those things, and as a result of experiencing everything that is going on right now, it gets like distilled into a solid form of like just it gets distilled and into like this concentrated piece of art. Mm-hmm. And that's what I love so much about creativity too, because it's like it's such an acknowledgement of who you are, and if you make honest art, right, that's reflective of who you are, then that means you are a good artist, and you allowed that creativity to flow through you and distill the art that you've created. Mm-hmm. Like Asian Invasion itself, if I were to have directed that like maybe a year later or a year before, or if that was P1 as it was supposed to, then like it would be completely different, because I was in a completely different mental state. Mm-hmm. Right? Like I was depressed and just all of these fucking things. And and I made the film that I did.
What's next for you in terms of projects or?
I don't know, because it's like this conversation of creativity and reading Rick Rubin's book. It's like having an agenda feels so pointless, just because life is so unpredictable, right? And I think that what I've realized is that I want to be an artist. Like I was put here to be an artist. I'm not here to be some fucking engineer or some shit like that, or some scientist. Mm-hmm. I want to make stuff, and I love making stuff. It's about being able to sanitize that filter of all of the things in which I see the world wrong. Like just because everybody has their own misconceptions about things. Like I'm highly insecure. I'm really anxious and depressed all the time. But it's like that's the lens through which I see the world, and so it gets reflected in a lot of my work. But like to be able to make work that is true to me, I need to be able to like reevaluate, like just re-examine that lens itself and what it's supposed to be like, without all of the insecurity and without all of the yearning and whatnot. And so I want to be the best version of myself that I can. The most, so not even the best, but just because I hate the word the best, just because like we're idealizing things here. But like just everybody has a personality, and I want to be the most of myself that I can be. Like I want to have reached full Ethan potential, and I think with all of my abilities unlocked and shit like that, I can make some really interesting stuff. As to what that is, I'm not sure. I'm thinking about making like a web series in my room called Sanctuary, that's like depicting my experience in 310, and just how like my dorm room was kind of like a moment, like was like a place of refuge and sanctuary for me. Besides that, nothing else. I'm just like living life. I'm gonna try to involve myself in the frat more.
You know, they say the more personal you get with your films, the more people are going to connect with it. So I think that's a really great point you brought up.
Yeah.
Is, you know, figuring yourself out first. You know, what do I want to be? You know, be the best, or not best, but you know, the most optimal or most optimistic version of yourself, and then bring the truth of how you felt during 310 or some of other periods in your life, and bring that forth, and people are going to connect with it. So
yeah.
I think that's a really great point.
I think, when it comes to making art too, like a lot of times, like just in talking about like that filter of creativity as it comes out into art, it's like it's dirty with like a whole bunch of things, like expectations from other people, And like during my 310, it was like a lot of people were telling me, oh, this is not gonna work. This is gonna look really bad. And it's like you're not gonna be able to do this. And it's about kind of understanding the lens enough yourself to be like, okay, that's just a dirty patch. Like it's not actually how my my filter is just oriented.
You know, Ethan, I really like what some of your approaches to filmmaking is. Our previous guest, Octavian, during his podcast, he was talking about how when he applied to USC, he saw the personal statement prompt and bended it into a whole nother creative project where he had fonts of different like fonts. He had a screenplay format. He took a picture of the words and put it into the essay. And that, I feel like, is what I see you when you make your films. You take these, you know, prompts, these instructions, and you bend it into your world, which is so unique and so original to yourself that I've never seen any other filmmaker do. And I feel like that is the ultimate goal, is just to tell your own stories, tell stories that are true to you, and tell stories that, you know, people aren't able to tell, you know.
Right.
So I really appreciate a lot of the work you do, and I think it's really beautiful. And one day, like, more and more people will see how beautiful
absolutely.
it is,
Yeah, just keep creating. Yeah.
We'll see. Yeah, I think I have to work on clearing my filter right now, but otherwise I should be on track. I have faith in myself that I will eventually, but right now it still feels like things are a little messy, but
Hey, one step at a time. Baby
one
steps.
step at a time, yeah.
You know, once you come back to this podcast in a few months, we're going to see a whole new Ethan. When you made Parasomniac, right, one of the people that watched it was Film Riot.
Oh, that's right. Shit, I forgot about that.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that.
It was really weird because my mom has this connection out in LA that I need to reach out to for internship soon. But yeah, she heard about this little Halloween film competition coming out, which was around the same time I wrapped my application film. And so it was like submit a 2-minute short film of something. And so basically I like just found the best 2 minutes of Parasomniac and like submitted it. And it was like, I forgot what place I got. But it was like there was a panel of judges composed of like industry professionals. So the Film Riot guy was, I don't forget what he's called, bro.
Ryan Connolly.
Ryan Connolly saw my film and he reacted the way he did. Also, Peter Serafinowicz, who I'm a huge fan of actually, also was on the panel. He's the sommelier and in John Wick 2, and he's also that one like grumpy fucking guy in Guardians of the Galaxy. What else is Peter Serafinowicz? He's also in a lot of Edgar Wright movies. Just very British actor. He's the Tick. I haven't seen it, but I hear it's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nice, dude. And I want to talk about, because you're born in Taiwan, grew up in Taiwan, but you seem very, very Americanized. First day I met you, and that was when you just got to the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
Talk a little bit about your transition, you know, from Taiwan to the States. Like, was it a huge cultural shock, or how did you adapt so fast?
Honestly, it's not even a matter of adapting. It's just what I am, just because both of my parents are so like heavily American. Like my mom grew up in Taiwan, but she went to an American like international school. And my dad was just straight from NorCal. And so yeah, I'm just a product of that. Like I wasn't speaking Chinese at home because my dad could barely fucking understand that shit. Regarding through the elementary school, I was sent to local Taiwanese schools, institutions, and so I grew up speaking Chinese at the schools, but when I went home it would be English. And so yeah, I just became very Americanized, at least through both my language and like my background and growing up, just because like I was exposed to a lot of the movies that my dad watched when he was a kid, and we would come to the States every summer, and so I felt like I had the general mannerisms down. But since coming to USC, honestly, it's like I can kind of feel a divide, just because it's like I have certain, I don't know if it's like a Taiwanese thing or if it's just me specifically, and there are many more ways in which I can grow. But just like sometimes I feel a disconnect with the people here. Like I talk to somebody and it's like I feel like they're just kind of like nodding along, or I don't know what to say. Like maybe culturally I shouldn't be talking about some of these things, or maybe they just aren't, people don't care about them as much. But yeah, that's still an ongoing journey. I think I'm finding what I'm comfortable doing and what works for me. And Yeah, it's been interesting because people forget I'm international all the time. They're like, oh wait, you're from Taiwan. Like, well, when'd you move to the States? I'm like, since I fucking started college. And so it's like, yeah, and I'm also just very big into memes and shit like that. So I got my dose of America through the
through
brain
meme
rot.
culture.
Through meme
Through
culture.
brain rot.
That's
Yeah, yeah. And fucking Vine and shit like
Yeah,
that.
that's almost like a point where I feel like international students can connect with locals on it's like
Yeah.
online culture. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a
And
big part of it now.
It's just slightly different now. Also, like, given COVID too, it's like, I mean, there was like a whole, I mean, of course people were still there on the internet, maybe more proliferated than ever. But in terms of person-on-person interactions, I think there were a lot of subtleties that the Americans picked up in that like 2 year or however many year time span. Whereas like I just am not aware of how to interact and like, I don't know. I just don't know how to interact normally too.
You know what? Be yourself, man. Don't lose who you are trying to conform into society because you'll never get anywhere with that, you know? You'll just be like anyone else, and you really will regret living a life where you conform. And I know a big thing you are is not regretting the things you do, so really love that approach. Be yourself, right?
Yeah, and it's I mean, there's still lows, but it's been overall pretty good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So hey Ethan, we've been asking you questions like the whole night. Is there any questions you want to ask us about the film industry or our personal lives?
Personal lives. Where do you think we'll all be in 20 years time? So we'll be 40. And so I'm asking both of you that question because you guys will each have your own idea on what it is. Like, kind of think about it now.
So in 20 years, I'll be 40.
Mm-hmm.
42, precisely. I don't know. I mean, I hope I am working on... I have a job that I enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
Ideally, something in entertainment or in film. I think I would still be interested in that at that age, but who knows? I think, hopefully, ideally, I have built a family of my own.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I also have my parents with me, and I can take care of them, and a good work-life balance.
Okay.
And honestly, I would love to be a working director in TV or film.
Mm-hmm.
But I think producing is also something I've become more passionate about. I still create. I still love writing and all that. But yeah, I love the idea of like, because the world is in no shortage of great ideas and great screenplays and all of that. And what I've learned through the years is like, a lot of what producing is like filtering through all of them and seeing what works at what time and figuring out the logistics and the all of that, and then pull it together and present it to an audience. That's pretty exciting to me, and hopefully by the time I'm 42, that's something I've done and I continue to do.
Okay.
If not, hopefully, I don't know. I could also see myself as an entrepreneur of some kind. So maybe I'll have my own, production company or something. But
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
I have a follow-up to that, but I'm going to let Jiayang talk first, and then I'll ask both of you guys to follow up, because I think this will be interesting.
Yeah, so I mean, in 20 years, I'll be 40. I think we'll be all at a place where we want to be, because I am a strong believer in that if you set your mind to it, it will happen.
Mm-hmm.
If you really genuinely believe that you want that thing, you will make it happen. And for me, I think in 20 years, I hope, I think a big one is having a family of my own.
Okay.
Close relationship with my parents and, my loved ones and friends, keeping up with the relationships, important to me. Career-wise, I hope, having my own production company and, like, producing, directing, feature films, hopefully, and hope to have a community on the First Act Break and on my personal platform of just aspiring filmmakers and helping them, tell their own stories, building in a base where people can all go and help each other. I think it's super important to me. And just be happy, I think.
Yeah. Okay. I think something that's so important to art, especially such a collaborative craft as film, is the connections that we have with people. Like, where do you think relationship-wise all of us will be in 20 years? Like, I'm not. There's no limits. I'm not just saying just in this room, but also like the people in the house, the people like associated with our mammoth trips, like when we would go out and like do like, where do you think we're all gonna end up, and like how do you think those relationships are gonna be?
20 years, I think there's still gonna be a whole bunch of us who are working in this industry, and just the nature of that is gonna keep us closer with each other. Although I will say, out of the college environment, it's definitely gonna be a little bit more not difficult, but it's just time-wise. There won't be as much time, being spent together. Right now, everyone's already got their own schedule, but once people disperse, once people find work that's maybe not in LA, maybe some move back home. So in terms of that, it might be difficult, but just by the nature of our industry, I think a lot of it is about being a community, right? And so I think that part of it will keep us pretty close together. And a lot of it is about fostering long-term relationships. You look at a lot of the collaborations in film, Martin Scorsese and Leonardo DiCaprio. People say, some people are, in your life briefly and they support you along the way and they disappear. Maybe that's true to some extent, but I think if you really want to keep the people you want close to you, then there's always a way. And even if it means just once every 3 months, 4 months, a year, you with your closest friends, you don't talk to them for maybe a year, you grab coffee or dinner, and it feels like you guys have never, that year didn't exist, and you just jumped right back where you left off. So I think that's also a part of it.
So Ethan, that was a really depressing question.
I was thinking about it too, and I was like, oh boy, what did I?
It is sad to think about. To think about a world where we're not with each other every day is quite sad. But coming back to that other idea where if you want it to happen, it'll happen. If you want to stay close to the same people, you will get to be close with the same people. Life gets in the way, but at the end of the day, everything comes from your desires, really.
Yeah.
And I picture all of us 20 years later to have all of us to have our own families, people we love, people we take care of. And I picture us hang out, whether it's we go on a road trip together with our kids together, or we go to premieres together. I think we will have ample opportunities, and what makes our relationships unique is that we are all in the same field, because if we were like doctors, engineers, like you do get dispersed all over the country, but since we all want to work in film, it is very possible that we're all in LA. We could all potentially just live on the same street, and we visit each other, and we will keep making memories and the things we love till the end of time,
Yeah, I think definitely there's a depressing way to feel about that question, and I realized that like halfway through you're talking, and it's like, oh, we're not gonna see each other. We're only like once every 3 months, and I was like, oh god damn, it's like that's gonna be such a shift from how it is now. But like I think what I was more trying to get at was just in terms of like, because our future relationships are defined by the things that we do today and in the next couple of days, and just in this time period where we're all like attending college, right? So it's like, of course we'll reach points in our lives where people will be more busy, but like I think the foundation of this friendship is like, I fuck with both y'all, bro. Like y'all both my homies. So like it's just, I feel like, I don't know how you guys feel about just like this particular dynamic in general, or just like of the larger, like of our in circle. Well, yeah, we've experienced so many things together. We have a lot of big major firsts. So you've seen like integral points of where I am. And I think as we move forward as friends too, it's like, of course we can never like say exactly how we're all going to turn out and like what parts of the country and like how available we are to each other. But I think what'll be important is that like this community that we've fostered here already, like will be the reason why we see each other, that we're okay with seeing each other every 3 months. It's because like we made these bonds, and like you guys have made this podcast, and I'm kind of there sometimes on some of the stuff you guys do. But yeah, I think that for me and what I think in terms of like where all of us will end up in 20 years, I'm thinking like in a more poetic sense. Like, wouldn't it be cool if like in 20 years like we decide like maybe every winter we like all meet up like at the house at Mammoth or some shit like that,
Yeah.
you know, and we redo the things that
Some
we
kind of
did,
recurring-
and we maybe all chip in on one singular cabin that we can all share, and it's just generated by that point. Hopefully, we all have families, and like you know our kids get to intermingle, and like I don't even know what that'll look like, but. Just the movie nights that we'll have, bro. Like the popcorn, more fucking Swiss Miss hot chocolate. But yeah, and just like we'll all, of course, be doing our own things, and like we cannot maintain. I think the only true person that you maintain like a consistent, super strong relationship with is probably your spouse or like the person that you marry. But it's like I think with friends, I think what makes this so special is like because. We're all friends, like we'll care for each other regardless of what happens, and as kind of we advance into the future, not knowing what is exactly is about to transpire, it's like we know that we'll have the support of each other, and just like these tough experiences that we all went through together that kind of define who we are now. I can say for me specifically too. Like the trips that we went on was so solidifying for me because I got to like know you guys individually as people. I think I got to know Jiayang first and then Richard later on. Yeah. Last Day of Jenny was like the start of a new chapter, guys, and it's like we've started so many chapters in the past. And it's like I do want to take this time to thank you for like your guys' presence in my life. Like I feel like it's just I don't even know how to say this, but it's nice. Like you guys are really good friends, and I think growing up I never really had that, and like coming here and being with you guys was where I learned how that was something that was possible.
But me, the feeling is mutual. I mean, I also had a
bring it in, boys.
Time in high school where you know
when you
I was
Boston.
like, who am I ever gonna hang out with? I was the only person who was somewhat like really into film. And I coming here, meeting you and Jiayang and everyone in this community has been such a great experience. So it's a completely mutual feeling.
Yeah. And dude, that was really beautiful. Like that image the image of us all being in the cabin, you know, Swiss Miss coffee in our hands and
like
kids running,
fireplace crackling and shit.
Kids running around, our own movies premiering, you know, on the screen.
The posters, we have our own like SCA posters of like our movies and shit like that.
Yeah. You know, like, yo, I directed Jaws 14, you know, you see an advanced screening of it, like, stuff like that, you know, that will be stuck in my head until the day it becomes reality, you know? Yeah. Because I genuinely do believe in that. And
that's awesome.
This is, our friendship and with the house and the Mammoth groups, you know, those are genuinely the best friendship I've ever had, you know? A group of people that really gets you, really understands you and are there for you all the time.
At the end of the day, I think that my experience in film and creativity itself is like very much tied to like you guys, even just because we worked on so much shit. And I think that watching you guys being so entrepreneurial about like your attitude and like producing content, like this fucking podcast is a great idea. You guys have a fantastic fucking banner too. It's like we're a community. We share ideas. And we give each other feedback and we influence what the other people do. You know, like who we are as people is a result of like the trips that we went on and the interactions that we've had. And all of that contributes in some like muted way to the art that we produce. So like if we make something, there's going to be a little bit of fucking Richard, Jiayang.
Ethan, thank you so much for coming on. This has been a really enlightening experience.
And we are, and I'm sure the audience are as well, looking forward to the next time you come on the podcast.
We'll see what that is. We'll see how I'm sure I've grown by then at that point. You guys have outro music? 雪花飘飘，北风萧萧，天地一片苍茫。